Hello, all my saints and ain'ts, my sisters and brothers, haters, not really, and lovers of all things dope. Welcome to Poetic Jams, a place where poetry is discussed not like your grandmama's show with slow molasses-like speech, but articulated in a way to bridge the brokenness. Here, we're just open, just trying to teach, and have every poet invited to fly and speak their piece. Here, we are all about that peace and serenity, education and relativity. We are here to jam out to the poetic and have everything feel as copacetic as it can be. Sweet, like Sunday candy. Welcome, family, to Poetic Jams. Hello, beautiful people. I am your host, always doing the most, sending shivers to your spine like a ghost, authentic intelligence. Today's topic is touching on a tantalizing technique, taking tension, travailing throughout themes, and tactically throwing things on the table. Then, after taking steps back, the topic, tried and true, is found therein. Did you catch it? We are talking about alliteration today. Are you guys ready? So let's go. Alliteration is defined as the occurrence of the same letter or sound at the beginning of adjacent or closely connected words. Now, why is this used? There are actually a lot of different reasons. Tension adds dynamic vibes to the poem and the structure of it. Mood and theme, because who doesn't love a good feel like that kind of alliteration? It forces imagery. So there's a difference between saying I fell on the floor, right, and saying I fell on the flat fabricated surface of the foresight of my fortuitous flat. You know what I mean? It offers up a lot of, obviously that wasn't good because I just, did that off the top of my head or whatever. But it offers that kind of forced imagery of like, now you have to think about it because there's so many things pressing on the description of it that makes it that much more interesting. Sounds and looks really pretty. You ever wrote a poem full of S's or T's or V's or W's and you're just like, wow, that looks really aesthetically pleasing. Like that is one of the reasons I like to use alliteration in my work. And for the theme is really the crux of why most people use it though. When people want to stress something, it's very important to have a lot of repetition because with repetition, it places emphasis on an idea or a theme or a mood. So if I tell you that I'm upset, of course you're gonna know that I'm upset because you know what upset means. But if I reinforce that idea that I'm upset, I'm utterly unable to utter any other words other than upset. You're like, wow, he really upset. You know what I'm saying? So like alliteration is just one of those things that just people love. I wrote a poem called Dandelions with actually my producer, Nick, the author, part of Highlyandhumbly. And we were in a summer program together and she was like, I want you guys to write a poem about a bunch of words. And I took a bunch of those words and I realized that some of them had the letter S to it. And yeah, I'm not gonna spit it for you guys today though because it's in my book. You guys should buy my book and you can see some alliteration in there. So again, just so you guys can take notes. You little kids got a notebook next to you or a phone or something. You got something. So it's used because it sounds and looks pretty. It adds dynamic tension to it, big words. It helps the mood and the theme, places focus on that mood, subject, or theme, and it forces imagery. You know what? I'm gonna give you guys an exercise because This is like school. No, maybe not. Okay. Anyway, I have an assignment for all of you beautiful beings out there. If you are trying to practice your poetry and perfect your performance of it, try using one of the consonants as a use of alliteration. I find it that it's a lot easier, and consonants offer a lot more weight than vowels do. Also, there are a lot more consonants than vowels. And if you didn't know, now you know. And if you studious scholars are feeling up to the task before you, I would love to see what you guys have. Drop it down below in the comments and let us see, and we might even shout out our favorite people. So, AI, take it away. So thanks, AI, for that. If you guys thought that was interesting, wait till you see our next poet. A wonderful, wonderful person to be around, and just great lyricism through. And now let's get ready for our next poet.
I am a commodity of all my oddities. A commodity of all my oddities. I probably died on the way to becoming the scholar I truly am. So I'm somewhere close to being examined by all my succubi and nursed by all your demons, thus always in between palpable meanness and self-hatred. That's all right, though, when you really think about it, technically. Before time, multi-billion-dollar home is the goal before 26 or 27. Not even for myself. I just really like the idea of, like, giving it all away. Just to see some surprised faces, make some poor unfortunate soul's eyes glue to the heavens. Because it's all up from here now anyway. And you're not really talking to me right now regardless, so I've ghosted women I probably shouldn't have. I've protected men who probably deserve jail time. Given little boys hope, shown little girls dreams, all while being a king that has serviced multiple queens on his knees. I mean, I'm everything you hate in one sentence. God said, let there be light. And then there was. There's a lot of non-believers out there. And me, I mean. My darkest days are usually spent in the blaze smoke. Not even of weeds, but due to the simplistic passion of my fiery infatuations artistically. I deserve a hug, kiss, wink, and citadel for bombing this many symphonies lyrically. I could use the protection, to be honest. If not from myself, from you. I mean, if not from you, from myself. I mean, if not from you, from me. I mean, whatever grammatically makes these sentence structures make sense in dollars to you officially, wistfully could change my life in an instant. Seeing myself gift the gab of freedom infinitely could exponentially change a ton of our outcomes mathematically. Yo, my brain hurts all the time. Thinking about every second, every minute, and every hour. How the heck am I supposed to get this hourglass to funnel? This sphere to start turning, these people to start moving and wake up. God said, let there be light, and then there was? Is that even a question? Is that more of a statement, an explanation, maybe a exclamation perhaps? God said, let there be light, and then there was. If I brighten every room I walk into, aren't I that light? If every leech that ever braces my radius either learns about gravity or it simply fuels my core brighter, doesn't that mean the world revolves around us, you, me, or I mean, him? Every word in these paragraphs and stanzas can immortalize us. Isn't us saying and reciting all of them right now conjuring a human being? isn't selling those human beings kind of odd? If I'm a commodity of all my oddities, I'd rather own myself. But then again, that wouldn't be enough.
The Conjuring of a Human Being. Wow, 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 wow. First of all, guys, virtual snaps. Drop some snaps in the comments or whatever. I need you guys to give a virtual welcome. One of my oldest friends, and the poet, Amir Royale. Dude, thank you so much for being
here. No, but I'm here with the man, the legend, authentic intelligence.
Hey, listen, just real quick, I'm gonna do some brief introductions.
Sure.
A poet, a CEO, a professor. I'm sure I'm missing some stuff, but all of
an actor, music, a polymath, if you will.
A polymath, poet acting, persona. All of this before 25. But welcome, thank you.
No, of course.
But we're gonna jump right into The Conjuring of a Human Being. First of all, phenomenal. I just want to know, like, where were you mentally, physically, emotionally, in crafting this?
I think when I wrote this about a week ago. There was stuff that I was looking at when I was thinking about submitting, and there was stuff from high school that I read, and there was stuff that's as recent as a month ago. There's stuff that was as far back as maybe like 6 or 7 years. But about a week ago, I've recently, I think in turning 20 or 21, started to develop insomnia, weirdly. And I sometimes I have like sleepless nights and I can't really do anything about it. So I'll just like walk around my house. But I actually was laying in bed. It was like 6 a.m. in the morning. And I was laying in bed and I just like finished praying or something. And then commodity oddity happened. And I was like, I don't know. There's something weird that I've recently developed, as I don't know if it's insecurity. I don't know if it's a worriedness. I don't know if it's like me seeing the future and maybe being some sort of like having some sort of psychic power feeling about it. But like, I've always noticed, as an artist, I've always felt like a slave. And that's such a weird feeling. It's such a weird feeling to be Black and then have felt that way. And for whatever odd reason, that's kind of where this started to come from. It was a thought process of, doesn't matter how much I have, doesn't matter how much I do, doesn't matter how many people love me, doesn't matter how many people hate me, I still feel like a slave. Even when I own myself, I still feel like a slave. And there's, I don't know. I feel like we like shout out William Shakespeare. We'll like, we're all obsessed with Charlotte Bronte. We're like so into artists, but then they become a slave to their own name, or they become a slave to their own creations and things like that. And it's weird. I don't know. And that's kind of where I was at. I was in bed writing this bit by bit and then revising it over the next couple of days. And then, it became kind of the definition, I guess, of who I am right now, of where my mindset is. So,
I mean, you guys heard it. I have to bring this line up, and I want to zoom in on it because I thought this was such a profound. Like, I was back here behind the green screen with the team talking, and I was like, this is my favorite part, and I think it's so profound. If every word in these paragraphs and stanzas can immortalize us, isn't us saying and reciting all of them right now conjuring a human being? And obviously it's the namesake of the poem, but the weight of that, you know what I mean? And just in words immortalizing us and it being just a fraction of who we are.
Yeah.
So I think my thing is like with your usage of words, verbiage, of repetition.
Mm.
Obviously, they were purposeful in that you wrote them for the reason of being heard and being seen. But did they come to you in the sense of I want to repeat this, or did it kind of just naturally happen? Or if you can just like, and I guess just talking through
Word.
that,
Like process. Like
yeah.
process. It was weird because this it was interesting. Like I've recently and this is even off of like being such a fan of you. I've been so obsessed with like playing around with like repetition more and more and more as I've gotten older, because there's something about saying the same thing twice where you start to go, that doesn't sound the same way that it sounded originally. And there's actually, well, I mean, probably the biggest version that I've noticed it of is like in stuff that's not even poetry. There's a one of my professors at NYU, actually, Bob Power, who produced all the Tribe Called Quest records, Erykah Badu, Common. So like Bob has this, I don't even know if I should be saying this out loud, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's fire. Bob has this secret like production list. Anyone that gets to meet Bob personally will find out about this list. Whether they get it or not, it's very hard to find. But he has a list that's at like 0.7 or 8 now, and it's called the Laws of Production by Bob Power. And in it, he says the word save about like 20 times. There's about 125 laws, and in that 125, there's about 25 of them that are just save. It's like 10 of them, then it says save, then 5 later, it says save, and then 12 later, it says save, and then there's save, then there's a couple more, and then, so it just keeps coming back. But each time, he's referring to save Pro Tools, save Logic, save whatever else you're working on with the artist, record it right now, but the repetition of saving that thought, and then saving the next thought, and then and now you've collected, and it's cumulative as you go through that list. And that's kind of what happened here. It was like, I remember when I specifically wrote the line about God said, let there be light. And then there was, in my head immediately, I had that question of like, yo, like, is that a question? Is that an exclamation? But I wanted to break down what that felt like, what God said, let there be light is. Because like I said, in conjuring a human being, you have to do a ritual. And I feel like rituals are very repetitive. They're very ritualistic tribal ways of trying to conjure something. You usually have to do something over and over and over again. And that's kind of what that felt like. Because that's, like I said, even the I don't know, the morbid sense of being in chains of some sort of a thought, in chains of just a emotional feeling that you're going through when you write a poem. It's repetitive. You're in a loop until you can break the loop, if you want to break the loop, if that's something you're supposed to do. So that was kind of my process. It was like I would write a line and then I'd break it down. And then there was stuff that I wrote that were extra lines, and then I didn't like how the rhyme scheme was, or I didn't really like the cadence of them, or maybe the I don't know, the warmth or the grit of them, whatever, like the pentameter, if you will. But I just basically would say something that was connected to the last thing, and then think about how to push it into the next thoughts, because I was having multiple thoughts at once, and I was like, well, I want to have all of this in the same thing. But then, yeah, so it was revision. A lot of it was revision, but a lot of it just came through the natural sense of progressing through the story, and meeting myself at the punchline of conjuring a human being.
Okay, cool. So my next question for you, all right?
Got you.
Bear with me, because I'm gonna set it up for you. Then I'm gonna ask.
Ooh.
You got your grandfather's chicken noodle soup. You got your auntie's chicken noodle soup.
Ooh,
both are the same dish with
right.
the same ingredients.
Okay, I understand.
But they don't taste the same.
It's very true. I don't know why that happens.
They spirit talk to them in a different way, And so you are making Amir Royale's chicken noodle poetry soup.
Ooh.
What devices, ingredients, methods, vibes, like what ingredients make it an Amir Royale poem? Any poem that you've ever concocted.
Word. Wow. That's a really good question. I've never even thought about this. Alliteration, metaphors, similes, narrative, repetition, as we spoke about earlier, probably comes up the most. Syllabic structures as often as possible. I also try to I said pentameter, but I think rhythm is always, I always think about rhythm. I always think about how many syllables I'm packing into a sentence, or how fast something is being said versus how slow something is being said. I think timing and rhythm is always important. I would encourage any poet or any writer to think about syllables, and finding that rhythm and seeing whether you like the cadence of that rhythm and how often you want to do that, because that always helps emotionally, I feel like, ground a poem in whatever structure you might be putting it in. And I also like to, I don't know, a lot of my poetry more so comes from spiritual places, maybe verses from when I'm writing something that's more music oriented, or when I'm writing something more maybe journalistic or academic. When I write poetry, it always comes from a spiritual place. So it always is whether that be God himself, the heavens above, whether that be the spirits around, dark or light. I kind of always, that's usually where my mind space is when I write poetry. I try to tap into kind of feeling out just what the universe has for me today, and kind of conversating with that. Because a lot of my poetry also is, I would say, communication is a huge rule that I put into it, because I don't like to write poetry that doesn't sound like a conversation.
Right.
I like to kind of write poetry that's methodically asking questions or speaking as if it's dialogue, but you just don't hear the words of the other character. Like your brain has to fit in, oh, what did the person say before that made you just say that?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I don't know whether that comes from my dramatic writing side or whether that comes from my acting side that I do that, but I don't know. I've never been able to really write poetry and feel comfortable not making it communicative for the audience member. So yeah.
So nah, man, I'm just sitting back and taking in. So I think, for you, as someone who is a polymath and who's multifaceted, as a creative, do you ever find yourself in a position where, because I don't necessarily like to think that you cannot do something, but have you ever found that poetry has either gotten you through something, in the sense of stagnant, in any of your other facets that don't necessarily need poetry to work?
Yeah. So poetry, I don't know. That's like my meditative state. I don't really have other ways of de-stressing as well as I feel like I get to de-stress when I just write out my thoughts as free form as possible. Because even with this poem, it was kind of which, there's people could argue that this isn't a poem and people could argue that it is a poem, which I love. I always love that. But just as I don't know, free thinking as it was going from one place to another, that's kind of how a lot of my poetry ends up being, if it's not specific. If I didn't go, I want to write a poem today, it starts that way. It starts from a place of I'm just kind of thinking about something and I'm on a trail of thought. So yeah. It's like I said, that's my meditative state. That's the way that it gets me out of everything. That's my get out of jail free card. Yeah. I'm obsessed with that.
Hey man, listen, I hear you. You. But Amir, thank you.
Of course.
So-
Anytime, bro. I had to pop out, bro.
Thank you for lending your creativity, for lending your time, for lending your expertise,
For sure.
and your wisdom to not just us here at Poetic Jams, but to our viewers, for our people watching that are fans of yours, for people watching who aren't fans of yours just because they've never had the opportunity.
Hey, I hope I get to meet you though.
You know what I'm
Hopefully.
saying? Guys, I'll say a little bit more in the outro, but you can find all of his stuff down below. We might have something here. If we don't have something here, it'll definitely be down below. So I need you to get down there
And follow me. I want to take you on a journey. Walk good. Take care. Thank you. I love you.
We just want to give another special thank you to Amir Royale for coming through and lending his wisdom, his grace, and his poetry to Poetic Jams, as well as you guys here today. Once again, for a little bit more of his stuff, as well as his music, his art, you can check the link down below. It'll be in the comment section. Also, if you guys want to buy us a cup of coffee, if you want to help us keep the lights on, if you guys want to help us continue to create content that puts people on the poets and poetry onto people, give us $1 or $2 or $500. I'm playing, unless you got it in you. No, but guys, seriously, we are nothing without our supporters, our donors, and everyone in between. So even if your support looks like a like, a comment, a share, or $1, we appreciate everything greatly. So if you guys want to like, comment, or share this, you can do that right down below. Also, if you want to donate to us, you can do that down below also at $HighlyandhumblyNYC, which will be right here, as well as in the comment section below. Until next time, I need you guys to stay safe, stay beautiful, and always stay authentic. I'll see you guys next time.